Hi everybody. It looks like I'm actually online. Yes. That was interesting. Thanks for waiting. Interestingly, it shouldn't be a talking head because I've set up some software that theoretically is streaming now, but funny, that doesn't seem to be working. Anyway, never mind, here we are. And so what today's session is all about following the breath. And following the breath is what I've been doing for the last few minutes while I tried to resolve the issues with YouTube, coming back to the breath over and over again. I must admit, the air was blue as well, but it's a pivotal practice. So it's the thing that most meditation teachers teach most of the time. And I can see that, lots of good reasons for that. It's 2,500 years old, and it's if there's only one meditation practice that you practice, then this is the one. So the process is incredibly simple, but the actual experience doesn't necessarily give you what you really want out of meditation. And what most people really want is they want their minds to be calm. So as a result of that, what I've done is I've constructed what I call some supporting practices. And the supporting practices are the ones that enable you to calm your mind enough so that you can do the following the breath meditation. Now, I imagine that most of you have tried it. If you haven't, if you're new to following the breath, then type that in the live chat. So the things that you can do to enable yourself to be able to do this practice, which is well worth learning, is that you can start off with one of the supporting practices, or you can drop back into them during your meditation when it becomes a little bit difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lead you into the meditation in a way that you can feel really comfortable with it. And that actually helps to get you into a calm place before you actually begin it. The other thing is I'll explain the supporting meditations, and we'll do a couple of those. And I'll explain what they do and how they work. And you'll be able to learn a way to maintain it as the foundation of your practice, which is the ideal scenario. Okay, so yeah, if you just want to get yourselves comfortable, and I'll begin and end the meditations with a bell. Don't know how well the bell's going to come across with this mic. Let me know later. And the way to begin is to start with the sound of the bell moving through time. So you're just noticing the sound of the bell moving through time. Let's do it over here. So if you either close your eyes or half close your eyes, just so that you're not distracted by anything. And just listen to that tiny little sliver of time moving through the sound of the bell. And notice how whatever's happening in your mind, whatever your day's consisted of, whatever the last hour or two's consisted of, for most of us, we can connect with that tiny little sliver of time. And now if you move your attention to the belly, just at the point where the belly meets the chest. The thing is, you can do this as well. You can buy these bells. You can pick them up in London. You can pick them up at the local Buddhist shop, wherever that might happen to be. Some yoga studios online. And it's actually a good way to begin your practice. So you're just noticing the belly rising and falling, just at the point where the belly meets the chest. What you're doing is you're noticing the tiny movement. If you stay focused on the movement, so you're not focusing on the breath itself, just the movement of the belly, as if they're separate. They're not, but noticing the belly rising and noticing the belly falling. Notice how if you stay with that movement or you stay with sound, you're drawn into the present moment in a particular sort of way. And that movement or that sound, for almost everybody, is frictionless. So there is no yada yada in the mind. It doesn't become a conflict of any sort. Just noticing the movement rising and falling. But ideally, for following the breath, what we want to be able to do is to focus our attention on the breath in the nostrils. Now, that's an ideal. So notice these are things you can fall back to from following the breath. So you don't necessarily have to sit down, follow the breath 15, 20 minutes, whatever it happens to be. You can ease yourself into it like this. When you bring your attention to the breath in the nostrils, what you're doing is you're noticing the rising and falling. As air in the nostrils. Noticing the cool air entering the nostrils, warm air leaving. Coolness, warmth. And you're able to notice the change, subtle change from coolness to warmth of the air in the nostrils. That's the meditation. That's it. That is the most regularly practiced, the most powerful meditation in the world. Now, what will happen, so I'm going to be silent for a little while. You're just noticing the sensation in the nostrils, whether it is the breath entering and leaving the nostrils, coolness and warmth, rising and falling. When I become silent, what will happen is you'll find that your mind wanders. When you notice that your mind's wandered, just gently, patiently, compassionately return your attention to the breath. Cool breath in, warm breath out. So if the mind wanders 1,000 times, all we do is gently, patiently, compassionately return our attention to the breath 1,000 times. And then whenever you're ready in your very own time, gently return your attention to your surroundings. Okay, so it works in as many ways as you can possibly imagine, the following the breath meditation. Very basically, it's a mindfulness meditation. It's a training in the process of your mind wandering, you noticing your mind's wandered and returning your attention to the breath. So that's a kind of pendulum experience. Noticing the breath, mind wanders, return your attention to the breath. In that respect, you're practicing noticing that your mind's wandered and becoming aware of it, and then returning your attention to the breath. If you do that often enough, then it happens in your day as well. The other thing that happens is over time, as you become more of an expert in following the breath, it calms the mind. Your mind becomes calm by bringing your awareness to a neutral experience. And following the breath is neutral. And then what happens from then is all of your experience arises in following the breath. Everything you've ever encountered. So if you've got baggage, that will appear. If you've had a difficult day, you'll sit down, you'll start noticing the breath. You're bringing your attention to your physiology. You'll notice how you feel. If your mind is troublesome, then it will become troublesome in following the breath meditation. So those are the things that stop people from practicing it regularly. Majority of people who begin to meditate, they want to meditate to calm their mind, to reduce the intensity of the thoughts. They want more comfortable emotions, and following the breath can give you the opposite. But so you notice what happened there. We had these other practices. We had the noticing sound, noticing the movement of the belly. And what I'll do is I'll teach you another one. And what they are, they're all taps. So if you imagine that sitting down, just noticing the breath, you're turning the tap on 100%. Up comes all of your physiological, mental experience, thoughts, baggage, it all arises. So then what happens is if you want to be able to regulate that tap, then you can move in and out of other practices. So the next best practice that enables you to both calm your mind sufficiently to do the following the breath meditation, and at the same time allows you to dip into it if the mind becomes too busy. So you're using the other practices to tighten the tap up a little bit, reduce the flow of inner experience, and you go back to following the breath, and the mind starts up and the emotions start up, and you need to be able to regulate it like that. So the next best practice is a thing called counting the breaths, and I'll teach you that if you don't already know it. And we'll begin by sounding the bell again. Now you know one of the reasons for the bells that are so common for meditation teachers. They bring you into the present moment. And so counting the breath, what you do is you count each in and out breath. So you count in your mind using your inner voice. You count 1 on the in-breath, 2 on the out-breath, 3 on the in-breath, 4 on the out-breath, up to 10. Get to 10, begin at 1, lose count, begin at 1. So it's 1 on the in-breath, 2 on the out-breath, 3 on the in-breath, 4 on the out-breath, up to 10. Get to 10, begin at 1, lose count, begin at 1. So now for those of you that are experienced, what you can do is you can use this practice and move from counting the breaths to following the breath, and notice how that feels. And then if necessary, move back to count the breaths if the mind's busy. So that's 1 on the in-breath, 2 on the out-breath, 3 on the in-breath, 4 on the out-breath, up to 10. Get to 10, begin at 1, lose count, begin at 1. Just practice this for the next few minutes. It's called counting the breaths. And like I say, you can move in and out of it from to and from following the breath. Okay, so now if you just allow your attention to return to the sensation of the breath in the nostrils, and what you're doing is noticing the breath rising and falling, the in-breath and the out-breath. And now you don't have to do left and right nostrils, but I teach it this way. Some people prefer it the other way around. What you do is you focus on the air entering the left nostril. Cool air in the left nostril. Warm air in the right nostril as you breathe out. Cool air left nostril. Warm air right nostril. You're moving your focus. Focusing on the coolness in the left nostril. Focusing on the warmth in the right nostril. And to help you focus, as you breathe in, noticing the air in your left nostril, you're looking down behind your closed eyelids to the left nostril. You breathe out, you're looking down with your eyes behind your closed eyelids at the right nostril. And at the end of the in-breath, there's a place where just for a moment, just for a second, you're neither breathing in nor out. You're breathing in from the left nostril, and it stops for just a second before you breathe out again, breathing out the right nostril. And then at the end of the out breath, there's a tiny little moment where you're neither breathing in nor out. And so the end of the in-breath, I call that the top of the breath. The end of the out-breath, I call that the bottom of the breath. And so what you can do is you can focus more on those two elements of the breath, the top of the breath and the bottom of the breath. Especially the bottom of the breath, the end of the out breath. And what most people recognize is at the end of the in-breath, there's a feeling of alertness. At the end of the out-breath, there's a feeling of relaxation. Alertness, relaxation. And notice that if you focus on that, all the breath is something that's bringing you from alertness to relaxation, back to alertness, back to relaxation. Just focus on that for a little while. Alertness, relaxation. While you're doing it, if your mind's busy, what you can do is include a little mantra. You're saying in your mind, rising, falling, rising, falling. And you're using your inner voice to do that. And then whenever you're ready in your very own time, again, gently return your attention to your surroundings. Okay, thanks to those of you that stuck that out. It takes a little bit of getting used to YouTube live streaming, and it was being a little bit cranky. I had to go back to a previous version of the software to get what I needed, which is not ideal, but it's all part of the rich tapestry of life. I'll be back next Sunday, and I'm actually thinking of running a session on Thursday night as well, and I'll make the information on that available in the usual places. So, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But if I do go ahead with it, you'll be alerted on social media like usual. Okay, thanks very much indeed for coming along, and I hope you found that useful. And definitely see you next Sunday night. I shall set up another session, and over time I'll get better at this. I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, good night.